what is happening in Sudan. Let's check this out.
There's a brutal massacre playing out right now in Sudan where hundreds of civilians were murdered in a hospital earlier this week, and that's just part of it. We're seeing videos and hearing reports from eyewitnesses on the ground that the RSF, or Rapid Support Forces, are going house to house, killing every man, woman, and child. In fact, the violence is so extreme that the blood-stained earth can be seen in satellite imagery. Now, this is a developing situation with a lot of unknowns on the ground, so let's dive into what we know so far about this recent uptick in violence in the ongoing Sudanese civil war. Now, a couple days ago, October 26th through the 28th, the RSF, or Rapid Support Forces, more on them here in a minute, captured El Fasher, the last major Sudanese armed forces held city in North Darfur. The SAF withdrew from key positions, allowing the RSF forces to enter the city, marking a potential turning point in the war. El Fasher was a humanitarian hub sheltering as many as 260,000 people, and that is the area right now that the RSF is continuing to rampage through.
Why are they doing these things, but innocent people?
Now, in recent days, we've seen countless videos published by the RSF showing their elements methodically moving house to house, clearing them, killing them, of every man, woman, and child. Now, as a little background here from the BBC, they say Sudan plunged into a civil war in April 2023 after a vicious struggle for power broke out between its army and a powerful paramilitary group, or the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. More than 150,000 people have died in the conflict across the country, and about 12 million people have fled their homes in what the United Nations has called the world's largest humanitarian crisis. Now, a little information on the SAF versus the RSF, the two major belligerents in this conflict. There are some smaller armed groups as well. SAF stands for Sudanese Armed Forces. This is the official military of Sudan, and they're working to preserve centralized control over the country. They are backed to various degrees by Egypt, Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. The RSF, or Rapid Support Forces, is a paramilitary organization backed also to varying degrees by the UAE, as well as remnants of the Russian Wagner.
And it's always the innocent people that are getting affected, but it's never the people that has an agenda.
Group. Now, the core argument here back in 2023 had to do with integration of the RSF into the larger SAF. SAF wanted that integration to take place inside of 2 years, and for the Rapid Support Forces, their leadership structure would remain junior, so it would be a subordinate element to SAF. RSF wanted integration after 10 years while maintaining their own chain of command, their own business interests, and they wanted their chain of command to be equal to that of the SAF. That was not resolved despite some attempts at negotiations, and the fighting has raged ever since. The most notable uptick recently was a hospital killing just a few days ago in North Darfur. According to the Associated Press, Sudan's paramilitary forces killed hundreds of people at a hospital, including patients, after they seized the provincial capital of North Darfur over the weekend. The 460 patients and their companions were reportedly killed Tuesday at the Saudi hospital by fighters from the Rapid Support Forces in the city of Al Fasher. This is according to the Director General of the World Health Organization. They say as a part of the assault, RSF fighters went from house to house, beating and shooting at people, including women and children. Many died of gunshot wounds in the streets, while others were killed as they tried to flee to safety. Now, in a report late on Tuesday, the Yale School of Public Health's Humanitarian Research Lab put out some interesting imagery that I'm going to run through here, documenting some of these mass killings. And it says something, the scope of the violence, when the mass killings can be documented from satellites in space. And that's what we have here. Again, this source is the Yale Humanitarian Research Lab. I will link their full report in the description below. First image here, they say, was collected on October 27th. The presence of clusters of light and dark colored objects consistent with the size of human bodies. Reddish ground discoloration in vehicles are also visible. These observations are not seen in prior satellite imagery. Second picture here, they note two reddish ground discolorations that are visible and not seen in prior imagery. Multiple vehicles present in the same area, which appears consistent with the door-to-door clearance operations. We should note, again, by most accounts, the SAF, the militant group, not militant group, but the actual Sudanese military, left the area. So these house-to-house clearance operations appear to be exclusively focused on civilians. Third picture here, they say the presence of two clusters of light and dark colored objects consistent with the size of human bodies, as well as reddish ground discoloration and vehicles also visible. Picture 4 here. Imagery shows the presence of clusters of objects, ground discoloration, and light tactical vehicles. The objects within these clusters measure between 1.5 and 2 meters in length. A group of light technical vehicles appear to be blocking the road near what appears to be a red discoloration in the ground. One cluster of objects is flanked by 3 light technical vehicles. And image 5 here, imagery shows the presence of clusters of objects along the defensive berm. These objects are not visible on imagery collected on 26 October, and the appearance of these objects coincides with the reports that civilians were shot attempting to flee Al-Fashir over the berm. In fact, a quick note on that berm, according to CNN, they quote Nathaniel Raymond, the executive director of the research lab, saying, quote, "The rapid support forces have surrounded this city in an earth wall called a berm that's as high as 9 feet. So the context here is that these people inside are what we call a kill box. They have been walled in to be killed systematically, and right now, the rapid support forces are doing just that."
So there's basically no escape.
In fact, we are starting to see a number of international organizations speak out against this and notify the world that this is happening. We have this video published just a couple days ago from the United Nations Human Rights Office.
We are receiving multiple alarming reports from Sudan that the Rapid Support Forces are carrying out atrocities, including summary executions, after seizing control of large parts of the besieged city of Al-Fashir in North Darfur and of Bara city in North Kordofan state. It is an extremely precarious situation, and the risk of further large-scale, ethnically motivated violations and atrocities is mounting by the day. Concrete action is urgently needed to ensure the protection of civilians in Al-Fashir and safe passage for those trying to reach relative safety. We remind the RSF commanders of their obligations under international humanitarian law to ensure the protection of civilians and to ensure the passage of essential supplies and humanitarian assistance.
Now, turning back to that CNN report, they say reports of RSF fighters committing large-scale massacres began to emerge within hours of the Sudanese military's withdrawal from Al-Fashir earlier this week. These accounts have been corroborated by mounting evidence that includes videos and photos from the ground, survivor testimonies, and, as we saw just a moment ago, satellite imagery.
These people are like living basically in a war, but like it's a world, like a country war, right? A nation war.
Now, they do have some pushback here from the RSF. They say RSF Chief Mohammed Dagalo, known as Hemedi, acknowledged Wednesday that there had been violations, and he said an investigative committee would be launched to investigate and hold accountable any soldier or officer who committed a crime. In a separate statement, the RSF denied claims of killings at the hospital, describing them as fabricated narratives with no connection to reality, despite, of course, what we have seen, mounting evidence of atrocities. And a quick note on the further delineation between the SAF and RSF. The SAF has been accused in multiple occasions of targeting civilians or being indiscriminate in their shellings of RSF-controlled areas. But when we're looking at some of the more significant atrocities, just brutal atrocities, including the one being carried out right now, those tend to come at the hands of the RSF, and there's not really a close second there. CNN says multiple videos shared online over the past 3 days show RSF fighters rounding up and killing large numbers of unarmed people. CNN was able to match the insignia worn by the fighters in several of the videos to the one used by the RSF. They say most of the videos appear to have been filmed and shared by the rebels themselves. Other videos show armed RSF fighters driving through large swaths of land, apparently hunting civilians who are attempting to flee. In one video, the rebels are heard saying, quote,
"What is the purpose? That they just want to take over the whole country?
Catch the girls." And that's another mark of this conflict that we've seen for a few years now, is without a doubt large-scale, widespread, indiscriminate killing of civilians, men, women, and children, and the capturing and raping of women, young women, girls, is probably a better way to put it, by the RSF. So no doubt, as these atrocities are ongoing and the cold-blooded killings are happening throughout Al-Fashir, we have to recognize as well that there likely are a large number of young, very young women being captured by the RSF and raped.
Listening to this is making me crazy, brah. This is crazy things that's happening here.
Day in and day out. That's the situation on the ground in Sudan right now. We are starting to see more and more countries speak out, become more vocal about this ongoing conflict. Not a lot in terms of actions being taken, at least not at this point. In terms of United States reactions or response, I've not really seen anything at all or even a mention. I could have missed that. We'll probably hear some condemnations is what I would expect here in coming days. But either way, pretty significant atrocities playing out right now in Sudan. We'll do our absolute best to keep you updated as more information becomes available. But that's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
Yo, it's crazy. I don't know what to say, but I'm speechless. I don't know what is my input in your... Maybe just awareness? I don't even have an audience to make this aware.